Hi, I'm Hope Gallagher. I'm a fashion merchandising major and in the 4+1 program. And this is Dr. Liu's and I's research on what tariff hikes mean for US fashion companies, apparel sourcing, and merchandising. So, has anyone noticed prices rising in the past year? I think we definitely all have, and especially in fashion. And this isn't just because of inflation, but this is because of tariffs, and that is the focus of my study. Now, if you talk to fashion brand retailers, their main concern is not Project Runway, but it is tariffs. And tariffs are taxes placed on imports. And here, this is a chart that is made to show the change in applied tariff rates of US apparel imports from 2025 to 2026. And one word to describe this graph would be either crazy or sporadic, because it highlights that tariff hikes will not be going down anytime soon. And they even seem to be coming stable in the most recent months, but this does not mean that they will go down. This might even mean that they will go up. And this also, we can see in this graph that there's no specific country that is being highlighted, unlike in the past. For example, in the past, China was a major sourcing country overall, but now almost any country can be a major sourcing. Now, similar to the question I asked at the start of this presentation, the two questions that prompted our research were, why are US fashion companies affected by tariff hikes and policy uncertainty since 2025? And what measures have been taken by US fashion companies to mitigate the tariff impacts? There are two significant aspects to our research, and those being new knowledge, and also that most existing studies are only looking at what is happening at the macroeconomic level and not what is happening at the company level, which is what we focused on. And these findings are highly relevant to US fashion companies, policymakers, and even exporters. For the study, we collected about 30 US fashion company earning call transcripts. And earning call transcripts are an opportunity for public traded companies to explain their major strategies and their performance of what is actually happening behind the scenes. And the earning calls, despite being collected from April 1st, was not a joke, but we intentionally collected from these times for tariffs as they are the latest available data. We conducted a thematic analysis and specifically used it on two things. One being economic impact and companies' response to the tariffs beyond sourcing, and also companies' merchandising strategies on assorting and pricing. And the emphasis was on the key things companies mention or what is being shared by these companies. Now, although this model may seem overwhelming, it is just to showcase the results we produce from using systematic coding, and it also shows the relationships of the coded segments. In this model, there are three things to notice. Those being that the tariff impact focused on financial aspect and was most associated with cost and profit margin, and now even refunds. And that secondly, unlike last year, there's not one specific country that was mentioned on the transcript. It is an overall broad impact, so no country is being singled out. And lastly, the impact of tariff on product assortment and merchandising strategies. And this model shows the code's relationships and that everything comes back to the key words of consumer and tariff. And that for consumer, assortment was the most used word. And for tariffs, it was cost, profit margin, and IEPA refund. In our third model, this shows our found data by key frequency, and this shows how we came up with our themes for the research by using frequency of code, and the most popular keywords being profit margin, cost, and IEPA refund. In this distribution model, we compare different companies, and that tariffs are much more of a concern for apparel brands and retailers, such as PVH and Carter, compared to off-price retailers such as Ross and TJX. Now, throughout our research, we had many findings, but here are a few of them. Our first finding was that companies are still very worried despite the aspect of refunds, and they still do not know what to expect with policies. And even with the ongoing IEEPA tariff refunds, companies acknowledge that there's ongoing or even worsening uncertainty about tariffs in the coming months and even financial pressures. And with Section 301 investigations, and there's also an anticipated new round of tariff hikes, that this could completely set back even companies who have received full IEEPA refunds. And the timing and the amounts of these refunds varied significantly across different companies due to the complexity of the refund process. Our second finding was that companies are no longer just reducing the risk and replacing countries with one another, but they are doing regional balancing, which is helping mitigate tariff impacts and also reducing supply chain risks. And last year's transcripts looked very different to this year's transcript because there is no concentrated country for sourcing. And a noticeable trend is that now companies are mentioning countries beyond Asia when they used to just mention diversifying within Asia. So now countries such in the Middle East, Jordan, and Egypt are being brought up. Our third finding was that companies are also reducing their assortment of products offered, and they're reducing the total number of stock keeping units, also known as SKUs. And the strategy includes focusing on the most popular sales categories, and this reduces the amount of extra inventory at the end of the year or the seasons. And this has also allowed fashion companies to manage their product costs while battling these continuous tariff headwinds. Our last finding was that companies are not just simply raising the price of products, but they are limiting the discounts and promotions on the products. And this is in response to mitigate tariff pressures and to also create more reliable profit margins. And by lessening promotions for consumers, they are forced to pay a higher price, which is helping companies offset their sourcing cost pressures. Now, the implications of this research is about what is directly read from our results and tells us how we can use our key findings. And the transcripts show what the found themes imply and why people should care or why this matters. And our findings have two important implications. One is that the tariff impact goes far beyond cost and it has completely changed detailed pricing strategy. And secondly, the way that companies are responding to tariff and the uncertainty because they still do not know what to expect. And the continuous uncertainty is just as concerning as the tariff hike itself. And companies are asking how to mitigate the risk and not just how to produce and sell the most efficiently or just for the lowest cost. Now, despite the already interesting findings, this topic can be studied further in several different ways. All studies have limitations, and in this case, we were only able to collect data up until June. And new data means new insight. And here we are only looking at transcripts, which may not review all of the different detailed practices done by companies, as we were not able to separate different companies from one another. And this could be studied in many different ways. One could be done to compare different types of fashion companies and their responses to tariffs, and also the difference in reactions between brands and retailers compared to off-price retailers, and their difference in urgencies. Now, if you would like to learn more about this study, please feel free to look at our publication. Thank you.